Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. It is the last day of the September series where I upload a video every single day. We made it. Also, hi to anyone who skipped to this video and ignored all my other videos. Like, I do not blame you. It's nice to have you here. But also, thank you so much to everyone who stuck with me and commented every single day. You are absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad we're friends. Today, I am gonna go over if I met my goals. I have some statistics. Then I'm gonna do a short wrap up. I'm gonna try to be short because I do have videos on every single one of these books. And then maybe some overall thoughts of the September series that I haven't even thought about yet, so that should be chatty. Let's get into it. Okay, the first goal was to upload a video every single day. I honestly thought I'd be able to do this, and I didn't. I missed one day. However, I do not regret it one bit because that was a day from hell. It's honestly one of my least favorite days I've ever lived. And I got right back on the saddle after and was consistent, so I'm proud of myself and I'm glad I took that day off. My second goal was to read at least 15 books, which I did do. I ended up reading, as you're gonna find out in a second, 19 books. Also, LOL, the last week or so, I had the books off by one number, so sorry about that. A tiny part of me, even though I said it in my intro that I wasn't trying to read more than I did last year, a tiny part of me was hoping that I would surpass 23 books, and I didn't. And the majority of me is completely fine with that, but a tiny part of me is a little disappointed. But like, when have I ever read 19 books? Literally never. So shut up, Allie. And my third goal was to upload to Instagram every time I was gonna read a physically owned book. And I'm pretty sure I did that, save for maybe one of these. Okay, maybe a couple of them. But I'm happy. I uploaded 9 times this month, which for me is very good. So I'm happy with that. Let me get into some statistics. So my final page count was 6,487 pages. And I averaged it out that I read 216 pages a day, which is amazing, especially considering there were like 4 days maybe that I didn't read at all. I am so happy with this, especially because I've tried to film one of those reading 200 pages a day videos and I didn't make it like past day 1. And I'm glad I counted page numbers now, because when it's in a bulk, like 6,000 or 7,000 pages, I don't know what that means, but I can clearly know how much effort it would take to read 216 pages a day. It would take a lot of effort, so thank you, Allie. Good job. I'm my own little cheerleader. Now let's talk about ratings. My average rating for the month was 3.6, which is a little lower than I would hope, but it could have been worse. Okay? It could always be worse. I did end up getting 5 stars though, which is amazing. I also had 5 4 stars, I had 7 3 stars, and 2 2 stars. I completely forgot any books that I rated like half stars. I'm just doing like the full number. However, for my wrap up, I am going from least to most favorite, so that should give you an idea of the nuance in my rating system. Oh, I made a little graph. Here's a little pie chart if you want to see that in chart, because isn't that fun? Okay, moving on to genre. Here's my little chart for genre. The most I read was romance, especially considering I think all of the fantasy I have here was technically romance. My second most read was horror, which was surprising. For some reason I thought I read more horror than romance this month, but whatever. Then fantasy, then literary fiction, and then I read 1 thriller and 1 mystery. I think that's all the stats that I actually looked up. So there you go. All right, let's get into this wrap up. And like I said, I'm going to be very quick with these because I do have videos on all of them. I'm linking the playlist down below for the September series 2023. And as I said before, I will be going from least favorite to most favorite. So let's go. Coming in at 2 stars, technically my least favorite book was My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. It's so funny because this is the first book I picked up for the September series. So it's the first one I'm talking about in my wrap up. Look at this. This is a book about a young woman who lives in Chicago and she's being evicted, so she finds a cheap ass, very nice apartment for only $200 a month, and she goes there and the guy is weird. He says that he sleeps in the day, he only goes out at night, and he dresses and behaves and speaks like he's from an older time. He doesn't even know what pots and pans are, but still it takes until our main character finds blood in the fridge to realize he's a vampire. That's all it really tells you on the back, so that's all I'm going to tell you. I thought this was funny at first. I thought it was very cozy, kind of a day in the life, very detailed, and all of that starting out as prose sort of turned into cons. There is like 5 or 6 pages of them trying to order coffee, and that is I still can't believe that. It just got to be pointless and not very exciting, and I really had to trudge through this. I DNF'd it at first and I forced myself to finish it. I'm glad I did, just so I can count one more book for the month, but yeah, this was not my favorite. However, I do see how some people would like it. I mentioned in my vlog that if you were a fan of the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, there's a possibility you could like this too. And it's annoying because it wasn't a bad book, but my frustration of having to finish it really soured me for it, and so it's ruined for me. Next, and my only other 2-star, is Freeing Luca. This is the second book in the Clickanian Alien series. I did read probably half of this with my friends, so that was fun. This is an alien romance series, and this one revolved around 2 characters that were being held captive. One of them was a human, one of them was an alien. This is a like mated, what's it called? Fated mates sort of series where there are mates. For the aliens, they get a feeling and they get like a tattoo mark, and they can tell who their mate is physically as well as emotionally. It's sort of like a very obvious thing, but for humans, they don't feel it. So it talked a lot about that, about like, do you have to end up with someone who you're fated mates with? I don't know. The thing is, I don't care about that. I am a fan of fated mates, and so I just want them to fall in love. I don't care about the discussion of, well, do we have to be together just because you are my mate? I don't care about that. I want them to be together. It's a romance. They're supposed to be together. And spoiler alert, not really, because it's a romance, they do end up together. So like, what was the point? I think my biggest struggle with this actually was the main female character. She bugged me. She was just so hot and cold, so much so that her decision making was purely for the plot to try to make distance and then bring them together, and then make distance and bring them together, and so on and so on and so on, to the point where it didn't even feel like she had a personality, because she would change her mind like every 2 seconds, and it was really frustrating. I am, however, going to be continuing the series because my friends and I are going to be reading each one each month. Okay, next at a 3-star is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. This is a story about a girl named Cinnamon. I love her name, and I actually really like this character. She ends up getting drunk and saving a demon, and there is, I guess she's a witch who is hoodwinking the people of her village, and I think like the entire community of people and things. I kind of forget what's going on here. Anyway, our main character and this demon are now on a quest to go to different cities and do something in the temples. I'm kind of feeling blurry about the reasoning for this, and in the process they fall in love. I feel like this definitely felt like a situation where it was just 2 hot people were in the same room, so they fell in love. I really would like something more either deeper than that or sexier than that for some reason. I don't know. I did like the characters though, like Cinnamon herself, love her. And we met a lot of characters that are probably going to be in the next books to come, so that did make me excited, and I will be continuing the series. Then A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This was also a 3-star. Starting out, I had really high hopes because I really like how T. Kingfisher writes. It's comforting, it's funny, it's creepy. There's a lot of biological discussions, but not in a boring way. I feel like the characters that T. Kingfisher writes makes me love them almost instantly, and I have such a good time reading her books. But this one, I don't even fully remember why I lost interest, but I did. I think I got frustrated because it's a story about a haunted house. I feel like the majority of the book is our main character figuring out that it's a haunted house, and it's like, well, duh, we already know that. It's very obvious. Then there was a plot twist that I did not see coming. I was very surprised by it, especially because I was thinking I already knew what was going on, but it completely went out of control. Like, things started going crazy, and I felt so confused, and also like there wasn't a very good job of handing us off into this craziness. Like I don't know, I couldn't conceptualize things, I couldn't picture things or visualize certain things. It was very hard. So I feel like it could have been either explained better or had better descriptions. I don't know what to think. Giving this a solid 3. Next is A Curious Beginning, and this is a 3-star. I did get spoiled for this, like it was my own fault. I started the second book without realizing it was the second book, and they tell you the plot twist like right away. That happened in the first book, but I don't even think that's why I gave this a 3-star. This is a story about Veronica Speedwell, and there's a big mystery, basically that her life's in danger and someone dies because her life is in danger. And so the mystery is who killed this person, and also why do they care so much about Veronica Speedwell, and are these 2 things connected? So Veronica, along with, oh my god, what's his name? He's my favorite character. Like, how did I forget it? Stoker. Veronica and Stoker, this grumpy pirate-looking man, they are on a sort of quest to find out this mystery. The only thing is, like, for the first maybe 40% of this book, they're not even trying to solve the mystery. They're like hiding at a circus. I don't think it's 40%. It just felt like a lot of the book happened here, and that's the thing. It felt sort of like, well, what are we doing here? You need to get back on your quest, or just start your quest, because I feel like this is completely pointless. But then things did take a turn. I did love the sexual tension between Veronica and Stoker, and I will be continuing the series because I need to see them fall in love, damn it. Then I read The Never King, which surprised me that I liked it so much. I did give it 3 stars. This is a story, it's a Peter Pan retelling, but it's reverse harem, and it's so funny, I didn't realize that going in, and apparently everyone else knew that, mostly because everyone has read this book. But in this version, all the descendants of Wendy end up getting kidnapped at 17 by Peter Pan and taken to Neverland. Is that what it's called? What's interesting is that each of these young women, they are returned back to the mortal world, except they have all lost their minds. They've gone crazy. They're talking about things that don't exist, like fantasy things, but they also actually lose their minds. And so each of the daughters just thinks that their mother is crazy and they don't think it's gonna happen, and then they're taken. And so our main character, what is her name? Winnie? Winnie is taken to Neverland, and there are a bunch of sexy ass men there. And she's told that she knows something that's gonna help them all get their magic back. And she's like, what, how the hell am I supposed to know this? Like, how would I know it? I didn't even know this place was real until 10 minutes ago. And they take a while, honestly, for this tiny book to tell her what's going on. They do say that they're gonna have to break her to find out, and I had no idea what that meant, and it was kind of interesting finding out. In the meantime, though, there's lots of smut and some filthy stuff. There's also a scene where someone spits in her mouth, like, and not in a sexy way. Like, that, in my opinion, that's never sexy, but it was rude, and I honestly was like, oh! Sadly enough, the character that spit in her mouth I'm most intrigued for, so I don't know what that says. I will be reading the rest of this series, or at least the next one, especially if it's this small, like, hello. Okay, next I read Woke Up Like This, and this one was fun. This is a YA romance. There's also time travel in it. It's like a 13 going on 30 story. It's more like a 17 going on 30 story. I forget our characters' names, but we have a girl. She is very cutthroat academic. She's type A. She's so excited for growing up, and she's acing every single thing she does, and she's just, you know, very by the book. She has a rival at school, and they're setting up for prom. She's on a ladder and falls off into him, and they wake up 30 years old in the same bed. They're engaged to be married. They sort of are fake dating, I guess you could call it that, and the whole time they are trying to figure out how to get back. The first half of this I absolutely loved. It was super high energy, very quippy. I laughed out loud several times. There was a lot of physical comedy, which is so cool that could be described in a book, like wow. The second half though, it got a little more sentimental. There were a couple really forced scenes in my opinion that felt not as genuine as the rest of the book, and I feel like our main character somehow like got less mature as this book went on, and I don't know if that makes sense. I am, however, very excited because Mindy Kaling is turning this into either a TV show or a movie on Amazon Prime, so that's gonna be exciting. And I so the whole time I was reading it, I was like, I could see every single one of these scenes in my head, so I'm very excited for that. Okay, then I read House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I also gave this 3 stars. It's more sort of like 3.5 because this is so much work that I put in. I love these characters, and the ending was very good. I did get spoiled for the very end though, which is so annoying. I so wish that I had read this when it came out, and I no doubt will be doing that for the 3rd book. I'll be reading it immediately. This book, however, wow. I don't want to give away anything for the 1st book or this one, so I'm just going to be vague in saying this is a fantasy with a lot of fantasy in it, and there is a lot of characters in it, and they're all trying to solve a mystery, basically. The mystery itself, couldn't care less about, honestly, and the way that it was wrapped up, it's like there was another mystery at the end, and it's like if we had just been talking about that mystery the whole time, that would have been way more interesting. I think the biggest problem was just how it was told though, because not even in every chapter, like in every chapter there were 5 different chapters pretty much, where every single person had a different point of view, and so you couldn't even finish one scene from beginning to end in a chapter because it got broken up in like 4 different parts with everyone else putting their POV and their storyline in. There's just so much going on in here, and I don't don't think it was very well managed, maybe, let's say. Also, the main romance in here, I have like no interest in anymore. I know that's rude, I'm sorry, because I love them both individually, but I have some hopes and dreams for this third book. I really do. And I cannot wait to read it, even though this was like a slog to get through, honestly. Okay, next is my first 4-star. This is the September House. This is a horror book, and this one was kind of a slog to get through too, I'm not gonna lie, but the ending made it way worth it, in my opinion. This is the story of this older woman. She has lived in this house a few years now, and every September, crazy shit happens, but all throughout the year, there are just ghosts in this house. And our main character has gotten so used to it that she doesn't even get fazed by it. Her husband, however, definitely got fazed, and he's now missing. Their grown-up daughter, who's never been to the house, comes to stay to try to find out what happened to her dad. And so it's a mother-daughter story. It's funny because this starts off so goofy and lighthearted. I actually explained and talked about how lighthearted this book was when I first started it, and wow, it really gets deep, and there are some content warnings actually. A couple things I wasn't expecting and actually made me cry, but then the ending, like I'm not even talking about the last quarter of the book, the ending was so fucking fast-paced, while the whole rest of the book was very slow. I will say though, no matter how slow the first, 80% of this was, it was never frustrating, so that's saying something. So yeah. Next is Shark Heart. This is a literary fiction, but it's also sort of fantastical because in this world, there are mutations where you could turn into an animal, like any animal. A zebra, a bird, a fish, a shark. The first half of this book, we are in the point of views of a married couple, Ren and Lewis, and Lewis gets the diagnosis that he has this mutation that he's going to turn into a shark. And so Ren and him are trying to figure out how they can deal with this and still be together and still love each other. And they really, that I like them together, and it's actually very sad because like it can't be stopped what happens. The second half of this book is almost a completely different story. It's Ren's mother back when she was a teenager falling in love and having Ren. So it was kind of cool to see those two completely different stories, and obviously there's a connection, but it didn't feel clunky at all, even though it was almost like two novellas put together. I just thought it was so beautiful, but it was also heartwarming and uplifting, and I just really liked it. It was sort of slow paced, but I was very intrigued and I liked the writing. I also like how short the chapters were. I flew through it. Plus, in between the point of views, it's almost like a play where there's like different scenes that play out. I don't know how to explain it. I just love it when the style in books change within a book, or the author themselves are very playful with how they're telling the story. I really appreciate that. Oh my god, my camera's gonna die. Okay, next, Scary Stories for Young Foxes. This is another 4-star. This is children's horror, and the first 2 stories in here are truly traumatizing. They are scary, okay? This book is about a bunch of little fox kits. They are being told stories in this cave by this older fox, and so that's the main story where we get in between the stories where we're updating it, and each of the foxes gets scared and goes away until there's one fox left. The stories themselves are, oh my gosh, I love them. The first 2 are completely ruthless, like animals being hunted and killed. The first one's about their teacher who gets rabies and literally tries to eat them all. Truly frightening. And then throughout this book, you see how these stories interweave. It doesn't stay as frightening, like there is a sort of uplifting thing, which I guess you have to do for a children's book. But wow, I thought this was so fun, and it really made me want to read it. If you get the physical copy, there's also pictures in it. Also, I found out there's another version. It's like Scary Stories for Foxes in the City or something. I'll probably look it up. Okay, next is Heartless by Elsie Silver. My goodness, I am such a simp now for this series. And it's so funny because there's cringy stuff in here, but it just really, really made me so excited to read it. It kept me engaged, and I'm dying to start the next one. This is the Chestnut Spring series. This is book 2. This one is about Willa and Cade. Cade is the eldest brother of the Chestnut brothers, whatever, and he is grumpy and kind of rude, but he's very dependable. He has a son. He's very protective of him, and he really just doesn't like anyone, except guess who he falls in love with? Willa. Willa is this fiery redhead. She is very fun and she doesn't take shit from anyone. I really like Willa. She was giving Bryce energy from Crescent City, and you know what? I just love that. Willa ends up being his son's nanny, and she wins him over. Well, she wins the kid over almost instantly. And you know what? The kid in this Not annoying at all, which I was very surprised. Willa ends up wowing Cade with how, you know, protective and good for his son that Willa is. It's just fucking wholesome. It really is. And it's very spicy. So love those two things together. Then I read Feed Them Silence by Lee Mandello, and I honestly can't stop thinking of this. I feel like I gotta give it a 4.5. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I should give it a 5-star. This is a very short book. It's just over 100 pages, and it's about a doctor named Dr. Sean. She invented this sort of communication device. I don't know how to explain it very well. I'm not good at explaining sci-fi stuff. Basically, she implanted something on her head, and then they collect a wolf, implant surgically on this wolf this thing on her head. And her experiment is that in very short amounts of time, in a scary dentist chair with a VR helmet, she can not only see what the wolf is doing, but also feel what the wolf is feeling. And she does this like for science, but also because she's always been fascinated by wolves and by being in a pack. At the same time though, her wife named Rhea is sort of pissed, mostly because Dr. Sean is a workaholic and has basically been neglecting her wife and just bailing on her, just not being very great. Like, they clearly love each other, but she just doesn't do a good job of showing it. And it's really sad to see this marriage like kind of crumble. And at the same time, Dr. Sean is so clearly invested in this wolf pack, in this wolf. And this says a lot about what's it called? Parasocial relationships. It's all just very sad, okay? It really is. And you know how I am about sad books. They just get to me. Okay, I just reread Twilight. I did have this for like a little bit, 2 chapters in my cutting my hair video, but I did end up listening to the rest of it today, and this is obviously 5 stars, okay? It's never gonna change, even though there are things about this, if I read it today for the first time, would bug me. It's so funny how quickly Bella falls in love with Edward. Like, I know he's gorgeous, and I know he's supernatural, but the transition, or maybe the explanation, it really wasn't there, and it could have used a lot more. Honestly, Stephanie Meyer, if you're watching, here are my critiques. But, you know, I read this when I was 12, and I know they fell in love, and I know the rest of the story does such a great job of capturing their love story. So, like, why am I even talking about my critiques of this series? I fucking love it, and that's never gonna change. Okay, next is The Princess and the Grilled Cheese, and I read this originally as an ebook, and I loved it so much, gave it 5 stars, I had to buy the actual thing, because this is gonna be a book. When I'm having a bad day, oh my god, it smells so good. When I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna pick this up, and it's gonna make me happy. This is sort of historical, but then also sometimes they're playing with a switch. So I really like the playfulness of that. But in this world, people are obsessed with cheese. All of their names are cheeses. Our main character's name is Lady Camembert. This is Princess Brie. There's like a Lady Gargonzola. The dog's name is Gouda. I'm just falling in love, okay? The premise of this story is that Lady Camembert, her father is dying. Her father wants her to inherit this without her having to get married because she is not interested in men. So her father convinces her to pretend to be a man, and she's going to be known as Count Camembert. So she moves to this new town and dresses and behaves and like sells herself as a man, and she meets Princess Brie, and she falls in love with her. But of course, like, Princess Brie thinks she's a boy. It's just this lovely crush feeling, like Heartstopper. But then it gets kind of sad, and then it gets happy. And the author's note actually made me tear up, because she sort of wrote this for her wife. I just love every single character. Everyone in here is just so sweet and fun, and I hope there's like more of these. I don't even know if there are. I don't think so. Okay, I really need to speed this up. Next is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This is my first, I think, official 5-star romance. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking back, I don't remember why this is like a 5 and not a 4. But I'm still staying there, and maybe I'll reread it to remind myself. I think it was just that it really felt really steady, and I never lost interest. I never got frustrated, and I guess it was my perfect romance. But I'm gonna have to reread to get my full thoughts. This is a second chance romance. Our main character is a wedding planner, and the main dude is a florist. A while ago, they worked together, and it's alluded to that they, you know, had a good time together. I think it's been maybe 2 or 3 years, and they end up having to work together again for this huge wedding. So we have 2 point of views, his and hers, and there are 2 timelines. His are in the past when they first fall in love, and hers are in the present. Oh, I love both timelines. I think I'm partial to the past timeline because, This is also super filthy, which I really love. And you know what? I really like the writing in here. And so I'm so excited for anything else that Julie Soto writes. But yeah, I definitely want to reread this to solidify it as a 5-star, because I just remember loving this as I was reading it. And that's really all that matters, right? I wrote so much in here like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. Exclamation point, no, stop, no. I was deep in the trenches in this one. Okay, next is Rouge. I gave a 5-star. This is by Mona Awad. At first, I wasn't really captured by this story. It's about a woman whose mother just recently passed away, and our main character is obsessed with skincare. You get a lot of that in here. And like, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't like gripping me at all. And then shit got weird very quickly. Oh my God. You need to watch my vlog if you want more information, because they're just like, I don't want to spoil anything, and oh my gosh, I just loved it. I love how crazy this got. This got out of control. And I have seen a couple people's critiques saying that this character did things that didn't make any sense. And honestly, that never came to mind, because I feel like that's a critique I have about a lot of books, but not this one, because it made no sense what was happening, and like it wasn't supposed to, okay? This is so funny to me, but also there were some sad moments. There's a lot to say about the beauty industry. There's a lot to say about racism, actually, especially in regards to like skincare and the beauty industry. And interestingly enough, parents who have mixed children, and if they are appropriating the races of their children that they themselves don't have, there was a lot of interesting conversations here. But the craziest things in here for me, and the best things, were the out of control moments. Like the out of control moments. I just said that, but I had to say it twice because wow. It was silly, it was goofy, it was sad, it was strong. I feel like maybe Mona Awad sometimes lacks, for me personally, like being hit in the chest with something. Like, I'm very entertained and I'm like, oh my God, but it never really like, like Mother Thing did. It didn't like really grip me and squeeze my heart and try to kill me, but it did everything else. And this is gonna be a 5-star for me. I can't wait to reread it. And I just love the imagery in here. I love the colors in here. It's so vivid. Oh my God, I can't shut up about it. My absolute favorite book of the month though is Luster by Raven Leilani. This book grabbed my fucking heart and ripped it up and then swallowed it and like pooped it out. That was probably a little much, but this book was a little much, okay? This is following our main character, Edie. She seems to be like after college age. She lives in New York City. There's a lot of New York City talk in here. And the first half of the book is her struggling, first of all, because, she struggles. But also it is her relationship with a man in an open marriage. And so like his wife is very well aware that they're doing this, but it's just the awkward relationship that they have. And awkward, and there were some laugh out loud lines in here, but there are also some supremely devastating lines in here. And it was just like that the whole rest of the book. Actually, it did get quite sad and sadder as the book went on, but I still laughed like throughout this whole thing. The second half, she kind of learns about this family more, and I'm not going to say anything else, but it was very different from the first half, not in a way I just enjoyed. Is that even a word? I enjoyed every single page, every single sentence. This was amazingly written, so entertaining, so heartbreaking, so funny. Any adjective that I feel is in this book. It's definitely my new favorite book of the year, and definitely one of my all-time favorite books now. I feel like I sound like I'm crying, but my voice is literally starting to go. But don't get me wrong, I definitely did cry while I read this. I need to like get it together. Ow. I looked it up, and Raven Leilani, as far as I know, hasn't written anything else, and I'm praying every single day that she does. Okay, that is it. Oh my gosh, what a month. Now that I'm thinking about all of these books, like, I'm so glad I did this. Like, I was glad before, but I'm extra glad because it would have taken me so much longer to read all of these, and instead I get to house them in my head for the rest of my life. Let me think of some other thoughts I have about the September series. First of all, thank you again for watching these videos. Thank you for talking to me in the comments. Honestly, that was the best part always. Last year it was, this year it was. Just, it's crazy how much closer I feel to you all during the September series, because like everyday communication is so much more than like once a month, you know what I mean? I do know I will not be doing the September series next year because my husband's contract is up and we're gonna be moving. We have no idea where yet. Oh no, my battery! Okay, I'm filming this on my phone because I'm almost done. But yeah, like I said, we don't know where I'm moving, if it's gonna be a different country, back to the US, or a different island. So it's gonna be way too stressful to do the September series. So that's kind of sad, but also it was way more difficult this year, mostly because my work hours changed. I had to get up earlier and therefore go to bed earlier, and that was not happening. So I just got like no sleep this month. I'm excited. Tomorrow I'll finally get some sleep because tonight I have to edit this. That being said though, I know that I had so much fun, and I know I'm just gonna think back on this time with such energy. And really, daily uploading, I know it's a lot. It takes a lot of work, but it is so goddamn satisfying, and it's very, very addicting. If you didn't watch my reset plan with me video yesterday, it was so addicting last year that trying to regularly schedule my videos and film and edit, I really struggled because I was like, wait a minute, I don't even know if I like doing this the other way, but I can't do it the daily way. So like, why am I even doing this? And it was just a bad time last October. This October, I'm much more hopeful. I'm very excited for the books that I've chosen for my TBR. I'm very excited about my vlog ideas that I have, and I have contingency plans even if my plans change. So I am feeling much better going out of this September series than I was last year. So that is just great news all around. I read some great books, had some great conversations. I got a lot done, and I'm feeling productive, so high energy. And I hope you all enjoyed this, or at least, you know, were entertained by it. I am going to be trying to upload twice a week. Don't hold me to that, but I'm going to be trying to upload Tuesdays and Saturdays. Those are 3. I meant 2. Okay, before I procrastinate ending this any longer, thank you so much again. I love you guys. Goodbye.